Welcome back to the SKID Factory Quick Tech. Today we're going to talk about one of the most commonly used manufacturing methods in the automotive industry, casting. The reason casting is used in automotive manufacturing as well as other manufacturing is for one, it is quite cheap. You can produce large quantities repetitively for a reasonable cost. You can cast iron, steel, aluminium, can all be produced using the same sort of moulding technique. You can make complex shapes out of it, so things like engine blocks and cylinder heads and turbo housings and exhaust manifolds can all be produced using a casting, and it's not a simple thing to make in a machining or fabrication method. You can't really fabricate an engine block. You certainly can't do it more than once very easily, so that's why casting is used for that sort of thing. So today I've got my mate Denny here. He is a pattern maker, which is the trade that makes these complex patterns that eventually gets turned into a sand mould, which eventually pops out a casting. Denny and I have known each other for a long time.
20 odd years.
20 odd years, and I always knew that he was a pattern maker, but I never knew what the hell that meant. And it's only sort of in the last few years that I've actually got Denny on board to help me with some projects that I've done that I've had to learn, and it took a while. I thought I was a reasonably smart guy until I had to figure out how this shenanigan worked, and it's quite an involved process to come up with thousands of these out of a mould. You've got to do a lot of work beforehand, so that's one of the reasons pattern making, casting is used mainly in large runs, because the process to get to the point where you can actually pump these out for cheap is quite involved and therefore has a high expense. So, yeah. Denny, what can you tell me about it? What's the process? Where do we start?
Well, you start off with a drawing or a casting that you want copied, or an idea on this. The manifolds we made for this, we basically just had two flanges that we put on the car, welded them together, and I took them home. I knew what Al wanted and what we wanted for the car. So then you start off by doing a layout. So you draw it down to full size with your outside shape, inside shape, your core prints, which hold your core, which makes the inside shape. And so you start off with that, and then you transfer that into timber. So this is using timber to do this, timber and plastic core boxes or fiberglass. So like on this pattern here, which is for this manifold, I think there's 8 different pieces of timber used that are all glued together.
So this thing is actually made out of timber, then you've actually coated it in something.
Just automotive primer.
Later on.
Yeah.
So it's more of a carpentry sort of based trade.
Yeah. Model making is probably the closest to it, yeah.
So yeah, right. I'm going to translate what Denny just said. To start off with, you can start off with any number of ways. Technical drawings is often the way Denny would do it for a big company. They would draw something that they want made, however complex, and he would then, that part of his trade is to translate that and change it into a solid shape. Other ways that it's done nowadays is 3D printing. They draw their drawing and then they 3D print it and then give the printing to Denny, and he then converts that into something like this.
The pattern makes, I think, CNC machining too for bigger items, because 3D prints are still fairly small.
Yeah.
And 3D prints can't be used as a pattern for large runs because they're not really strong enough yet. A lot of it, you can use it for small things, but once you get to a certain size, 3D printing's not usable yet.
As yet. But it's coming a long way. So this is a more traditional, original way that's probably been, how long have they been making castings for? Since the 1800s?
Yeah. Yeah, so they started off, there's a few different techniques. This is called hard sand moulding. The sand's got a binder and a catalyst in it.
That's why it's pink, because it's got like a glue put through it?
Yeah, basically it's a glue. The other way is green sand moulding, which is you use the pattern's in a steel frame and you use compaction to hold it together. But for this episode, we've just got hard sand cakes here.
And what was the other type? Die
You
casting.
get die casting, which is usually used for aluminium, really high runs of things, and also where it's a lot thinner. With sand casting, because aluminium's cast pretty cold at only about 750 degrees. So
it'll turn from liquid back into a solid pretty
before
quick.
it gets there. If you've got to have a reasonable metal thickness for it to run through.
Yeah. So with the die casting, it's obviously made out of a fabricated metal or a cast piece of metal, and then they heat the die, and that allows it to get to the right temperature. So it maintains maintains being a liquid until required.
Yeah. So go fill all the casting up before it starts to go cold.
All right. So next up,
So you basically fill these. You just fill the box up with sand. The sand's got a binder and catalyst in it. You don't pack these in too tight because you actually want the sand to breathe a little bit. So then you just let the sand, these about 15 minutes, you can knock these out. 15 minutes, you basically turn it upside down and tip the mould out. Same with the core box. So you've got the core box is your inside shape of your casting. So do you want to?
So that is the shape of the inside of this manifold, the exhaust manifold.
So yeah, there's another core box, so you make that separately. The core, these bits out here, what's called core prints. So they support the core in the correct position, so it doesn't move around while it's being cast. So the moulds are made, you make the core, that goes in, and then you get your top half of your mould, and basically you close it over. These ones are just
weight on them, do they? Or?
Yeah, they'll weight them because there's quite a lot of hydraulic pressure that when you pour metal in there, it tries to push them apart.
Yeah.
So you put a bit of weight on there.
Also, we just missed out on.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
The little dowels that are part of the. You can see here.
Yeah.
That's actually like a dowel, so this all mates up properly.
Yeah.
So everything is held in position. Otherwise, you might get a mismatch
cross
like
joint.
that.
So you probably see it when you do look at an engine block or a casting, a cylinder head, you'll see little lines, and that'll be the joint between the two moulds, because you'll always get just a tiny little bit
Some seeping out like that.
Yeah.
Little tabs there. So this hasn't been cleaned up, obviously.
Yeah. So
the next thing Danny will talk to you about is what the hell's that big
that bit
dumbbell
there
hanging
is
out?
what you call your runner system. So you've got a down sprue, then you've got an ingate. So we haven't put these in these moulds because these are just made so we could show this, because this is made somewhere else. So basically these are on here, so they basically make a hole in the core.
1890s name that you called that a down sprue.
Yeah.
I'd call that the funnel where they pour the hot metal. As you can see, that's the shape that it comes out on.
So you make that a bit big because when you got a pot of metal, you want to have a bit of room when you're tipping it up. And the iron is poured at about 1350 degrees
Celsius.
And so that just it runs down, fills the job up. The sand is actually porous, so you will get there is gas and stuff formed, but that will just come up through the sand, or you can put breather vents off certain places to help it fill quicker. More with aluminium, will have breathers off so they can get the metal in there a lot faster. Cast iron does run very well.
Is that why it's most commonly used?
Yeah, well, it runs like water, and basically because iron is so forgivable. It'll like on an exhaust manifold and stuff, can get hot, cold,
Yeah.
thousands of times, and not a problem. Where cast steel, you can't. Cast steel wouldn't work. Cast steel and mild steel are two different things.
So after Denny's gone through all the process of making these patterns,
And
core boxes, boxed them up in these
frames.
Frames that allows it to have the sand packed in it. It's then basically given to the
Foundry.
the founder, the moulder.
Yeah.
The moulder. They're called moulders.
Yep.
Or guys that play with sand, according to Danny, kindergarten things.
You haven't passed sandpit yet.
So Danny said there's about 30 hours work in this particular part, not that bit. That's another manifold.
Yep.
And it's a relatively simple job. So it's quite a time-consuming process to make the pattern.
Yep. And core box.
And core box. So the pattern's the outside bit, the core box is the inside bit.
Yep.
and he's just taught me this as well, the way to get your head around it is anything that's pink sand is air once it's cast, and anything that's air is metal once it's cast. So that's a good way of thinking about it. So this is the end product. That basically is poured in through the funnel,
Down sprue.
through the ingates,
Yep.
does its thing. It's then left to cool. You can't just snap it open when it's still in the cooling process. It's left to cool completely.
Yep.
Then they just basically bash the crap out of the sand and it falls off.
The sand breaks down after it's been
Because
heated.
it gets heated and sort of burns, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're left with that very rough looking thing. It's got these things that are called fins hanging out of it.
Just fin.
Fin, not fins, not flipper. So all this stuff is either cut or broken off.
Yeah,
is it
ground.
supposed to break off? Or?
No, it won't. No, you usually cut that stuff off. You break
cut
it
it
off,
off.
you can cut it off and break inside the casting. So that needs to be cut off, and then all the fins cleaned up with the grinder.
Just grinders. But this is all very manual labourish, the actual process of casting, which is probably what usually occurs in countries other than Australia or America these days. Then it's machined. So the machining process requires a jig to be made to actually hold this in the right place, which is another job in itself. So again, another cost once it comes out. In this case, they have to be machined. In the case of an aluminium tank or pipe or something, probably doesn't need anything done to it. It just is either welded onto something or it just works as it is. So we haven't got a machined version of these because they're already on the car. Here's another. That's basically that, but it's a V-band version of it that's been machined. So John, our mate, machined these, Champion. That's a simple one to machine, according to John, because it's two flat surfaces that are sort of linear.
Yeah.
So he machines one side, bolts it onto a faceplate, and then machines the other side with a lathe. Pretty simple stuff. Not so simple is this Toyota manifold that Denny also made everything for off a fabrication that I made. You can see it's got 3 flanges and it's a very odd shape, so that requires a specific jig to be made to hold it to do each machining process, and that have to be exactly where they have to be. That's the whole point of casting things, is that you can repeat the same thing over and over again thousands and thousands of times very accurately. So the machining jig is very important, and the machining process is very important, as well as everything else. So it's kind of a multiple step process to make thousands of these. Unfortunately, we don't make thousands of them. Denny just makes all this stuff to make one for his own car, but that's that's how you do it when you're a tradesman. You can do that. That's his prerogative. We might have a look at Denny's car a bit later. I think it's pretty cool. One of them, anyway. Well, that about covers the tech behind hard sand moulding. We didn't talk about investment casting or lost wax casting, which is another type of method that basically replaces hard sand moulding. It's commonly used in stuff like wastegate housings and that sort of thing, but that's a story for another day. Just to reiterate, this making of patterns is quite expensive. It is a one-off expense, but it's a big expense. So if you just want to make one manifold, this is not the way to do it. However, if you had Denny's skills and you could just make one manifold for your vehicle or engine, what would it be? Throw that in the comments and let's see how wild you want to go. If it's a K-swap in a Honda Beat, call me. If it's an SR20 in anything, don't call me. Big thanks to Denny for educating us on this process. It's very interesting, and what you see every day, you probably never knew that all of this went into it. So thanks for that, Denny, and thanks for watching. Welcome back to the Skid Factory Quick Tech. Today we're going to talk about one of the most commonly used manufacturing methods. Today we're going to talk about one of the most commonly used manufacturing methods in the automotive industry. Casting. Hesitated.
Do you want to leave this out, Woody, for the moment?
No, mate, I'm good. Hey, Al. Actually, no, don't leave it out. I will get some shots of it.
I'll just leave that there like that then.
What about a K-Swaps AW11 MR2?
About it.
What if I told you that I bought one?
With what? You ain't got no money.
I know. I haven't really handed over the cash yet. Can we do that? Or do we just fix the 20 valve?
Fix the 20 valve.
That face says to me you're keen. Oh, did you get it? Is there gold there or what?
It's itchy. It was a scratch. There was no pick.